Hey, I wanted to give an update after my last video talking about quitting weed, and man was I struggling. I'm on day 30 today. 30, man, so excited. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what it was like. The first few days I tried to do it on my own. I had joined a group on Reddit called Leaves that was super helpful. But I still felt very alone, and it was hard. And I actually got sick. I got really sick. And I found out I had something called CHS that I got diagnosed with, cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome. Apparently I've had it for a while, but in the early stages, and it's basically like an allergic reaction to weed, like something in your gut. The cannabinoids receptors in your gut, when weed or cannabinoids hit it, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but it throws you into this cycle of throwing up for like 24 hours to 48 hours. And the first stage of CHS is nausea and anxiety. And I often am nauseous, and when it helps with that, weed. And then I have anxiety. It was one of the reasons I was using medical marijuana. So when I felt anxious, again, weed. And I didn't realize that was like this cycle that was making me more nauseous and more anxious. And so over the past 2 years, when I had been using medical marijuana, I was in the hospital 3 times for different stomach issues. One time I was throwing up blood. One time I thought my appendix was bursting, and one time I had like intense abdominal cramping. And they did endoscopies, they did colonoscopies, they did CT scans. They never figured out what was wrong. They filled me with fluids, and then when I kind of got stable after about 2 days, they sent me on my way. Now I've read up on CHS quite a lot, and it says that on average, someone goes to the hospital 7 times before they're diagnosed with CHS because it's not very well known. Because the weed we used to smoke, the weed I used to smoke when I was younger, was like 4% weed, or 4% THC. But the weed I had been smoking with my medical card was 98% THC. So this high potency cannabis, man, it's messing people up. I joined this CHS group. So the Leafs group was like, you have CHS. So then I joined the CHS group, then got me into this Facebook group for CHS. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, and they just post a lot on it was like a formed by doctors and then these CHS patients to try to spread information about it. There's a bunch of foods I couldn't eat for a while because it would trigger my vomiting. I was so sick. And I just kept eating these trigger foods because my favorite foods are like Indian and Mexican and coffee, and all those things would trigger it. So, but in this group, I learned that people's organs fail because of CHS. They have to have organs removed. People die of CHS. So that was really helpful for me. I actually cannot smoke weed without getting sick. The only way to cure CHS is to stop all cannabis use. So that was really, really helpful for me, just to in my head, it was like, well, how long am I gonna quit for? Because there seems like so many good opportunities to smoke weed for in the future of my life. So just knowing that I have this sickness, that was really helpful for me. I know a lot of people won't have that experience, but the more you use high potency THC, the more likely you are to develop it. And I think I heard too that if you used cannabis when you were younger, like that 15 to 23 age, you're more likely to get it too. Also just I was processing a lot the first few weeks about how much I messed my brain up. I've always had a really bad memory, and I've had lots of concussions. My dad says it runs in the family, and I always feel pretty stupid. I think I really extra stupid compared to a normal person. And I was told this. I remember the first time I went to rehab, they made us watch some video, you know, like your brain on drugs, and it showed like a fried egg, you know, but that did not sink into young Kim. But now I'm like, this is why I'm stupid. Like if you used cannabis between 15 and 23, those are like the ages where it really messes with your brain, but it can lower your IQ 7 points and cause like memory problems. And so I beat myself up about that quite a lot. And then I think I got like really desperate. You know, I was struggling to do it on my own. I was debating paying someone to like help coach me through not smoking weed. And then I decided to give MA a try, Marijuana Anonymous, and I'm sober from drinking and other drugs through AA, got sober in 2011, and I also went to OA, Overeaters Anonymous, for bulimia. So I know that these 12-step programs have really helped me in the past, just like the free community support and kind of like this guide of what to do has been really helpful for me. I know it's not for everyone. But I was hesitant, so I stopped going to AA meetings like maybe 2 years before the pandemic started. And I was just like, AA focuses so much on like what it was like and just like reliving like the shitty things we did and focusing on how like it's our selfishness, my selfishness that like keeps me using, and like I want to focus on the future and not on the past. So going back to AA, and also like through the pandemic, after I broke my foot, like my relationship with my higher power, I've never really believed in like God, especially a gendered God that lives in the sky. That's never really done it for me. But after breaking my foot, I left this pretty intense yoga tradition I was practicing, very hardcore, and it felt kind of like leading a religion to me, and I just kind of like became more atheist or agnostic. So that was another reason I was hesitant to go back to like these meetings. And I knew there was AA, or I knew that all these meetings were online. I had a lot of people be like, you should do these online meetings. And I was like, no, there's no connection. And like, there'll probably so many people on it. Like, I'm just not into it. Anyways, I've changed my tune. It's so cool. It's so cool that there's meetings offered almost every hour, every day of the week. So you can just get on Zoom anytime and be in a group of people who can understand, or for me, I guess I can get in a group anytime with a group of people who understand what I'm going through. And especially with weed, like MA was so great because so many people don't see weed as a problem, and you know, I don't think weed is a problem for a lot of people, but I do think this high potency THC stuff is kind of scaring me for like what it might do for people, like after my experience. But anyways, to each their own. But to be able to get into a group, so I tell my friends, you know, I stopped smoking weed, they're like, you should try microdosing mushrooms. That's another story. It's like, no, I'm actually trying to not do any mind altering stuff because I've realized that like I like altering my perception so much, I can get addicted to them all. But I really liked MA. And one of the things they did too is in the reading, they adapted it from AA, but in AA, they referred to God as He. And in MA, and I also started going to these adult child of alcoholic or dysfunctional family meetings. I started going to that. I had my third one today. And I've only been hitting a few here and there. But they just like keep saying God. They don't say He. So I don't know, that was really like, okay, maybe I can get behind this. And it felt like I felt like more shame when I went to AA. Anyways, I didn't mean for this to turn into like this 12-step thing, but my point is it was so cool. Like you're just hanging out with stoners, you know? I'm just hanging out with stoners. I love me some stoners. It's just great because we're not stoned and we talk about like trying to be productive and getting through obstacles in our life without numbing ourselves with weed. So it's been 30 days today. I have started going back to AA meetings. I got a sponsor in AA. In MA, so for me, I'm trying to not do any substances, right? I was just doing weed, but now I'm not doing any. In MA, a lot of people drink, so for me, I chose AA meetings. There's also like so many, like multiple meetings every hour around the clock, which was just so cool. And I got this new sponsor, and she and my therapist both were like, you need to look into ACA, this adult child thing, because so many of your problems come from like the way you were raised with an alcoholic parent. So I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really, really clear with weed that I have absolutely no interest in using it. Yeah, but I feel like, and this goes to like being an alcoholic or like these people, someone like me who I really like these meetings, it's because the substances I were using, you know, whether it was weed or it was drinking or whether it was food, those were all like my solution to living my life, because I like don't know how to competently live my life. I just want to check out, numb myself, and then like just kind of float through life. So you take away the substances and then I'm just like, help, what do I do now? So yeah, I feel really happy to feel like weed is in my rearview mirror. And I'm excited to have like the support system going forward. I was gonna say things I noticed that were different. So the first, you know, I was super sick for like 2 weeks, had to go to the hospital, get IVs, got diagnosed with CHS, changed my diet to take away those like triggering foods. I had like way more energy. I cleaned my freaking oven. Like who cleans their oven? Not me. I clean my oven like when I have to move. And now that I own, you know, when I own a house, I'm there for like years, and then I'll clean it like right before I sell it. I cleaned my oven like by choice. Freaking cleaned my washing machine. Like, did you know you can clean your washing machine? There's this, not just like put the tab in it and wash it with the tab, but like there's a container at the bottom you pull out and there's like a tube full of nasty ass water and something you unscrew and like shit's in there. Anyways, and like I like to donate some money, and I always put off like looking for organizations. There's just been a lot of stuff in my life that I didn't realize I was putting off because I was just in bed smoking weed. And now I'm doing it. I've been skiing like 5 times, just barely open. The resort just barely opened. Normally I'm like, I'll take a hit and talk about how like I wish I could ski, but I don't have the time, instead of proactively making the time. I have been struggling a little bit in my marriage. I feel like when I told him I was doing MA meetings, he thought I was lying to him because I had done a few, but it was like, I'm embarrassed. I get embarrassed about like needing this stuff, not being able to live life on my own, having all these freaking addictions to different things. Like, my husband's just kind of a normal person who can just have a beer here and there, drink, you know, smoke. Actually, he can't smoke because he gets drug tested for work. But when he does like randomly smoke, when he has like a period, he can do it, you know. He doesn't spin off the rails like me. Like, give me 1 joint and then I'm smoking a joint all day long. Actually, I like the vape. Give me a vape and I will suck that thing 24/7. Wake up and hit it all throughout the day, hit it when I'm going to bed. One of the things I hated the most was I was like, okay, just don't smoke before you drive your kids to school. You know, like that's not very hard. Wake up. Don't pick up the vape pen, drive your kids to school. You can fucking smoke right after you drop them off, but don't do it before. And I was never able to do that. So the first few days too, I just felt like so happy just that I could go without using, like just, I had wanted to be able to do that so much. So to be able to do it felt really good. And then I got sick, but now I feel like I'm back to that grateful place. It's also Thanksgiving tomorrow. You know, these are the holidays I would love to use through them, you know, just numb myself out so I can be a little bit more like playful and like a little bit less wanting to be all alone and scared of the world. So I'm excited to be able to show up sober. And we're going to my dad's condo. Normally when I'm using, I like avoid my dad, because when I was using when I was young, like we had a bunch of problems and I just feel like I retreat. I don't answer his phone call. I don't call him. I can feel myself pull back. So to choose to be going to spend Thanksgiving with my dad feels really big. Also, my 11-year alcohol, you know, coke, hard drug sobriety date is on Saturday. So just killing it over here. And I really wanted to make a point to come on and make another video, share some experience, strength, and hope. And I was like, I need to make it to a certain day though. You know, I can't just do it randomly at like 25 days. I gotta do it at 30 days. So here it is. Here's my update. You know, if you watched this, thanks. Or you're welcome.